This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Welcome to the Starlight Ballroom. Hey!
Hello everyone and welcome to Shipwrecked and Comatose, the Red Dwarf podcast here on the We Made This Podcast Network. This is a special which I have asked for and Mark didn't. This is unheard of. Mr. Mark Adams is with me and Carl Bryan is with me. How are you both doing?
Pretty good. Quite surprised by the announcement, but pretty good.
I'm good. I don't feel like I'm overwhelmed or underwhelmed by the announcement. I just feel like I'm a bit whelmed.
Well, we're going to get into this, but before we do, there's a couple of bits of Red Dwarf kind of news that we need to go through. Today we thought we'd jump on, or I thought we'd jump on. As I say, reluctance from Mr. Adams, which was, you know...
It was just, I didn't think there was enough to talk about. We normally have like hour to 2 hour episodes, and I don't think we're going to get quarter of an hour out of this.
Well, the fans need to have the news, mate, you know?
But we know fuck all about it.
We're a media news channel.
Is that right?
Yeah, we're now the new SNCGB News.
We're fucking not. We are fucking not. There's a lot of things we are, and it ain't that shit.
Just first up, just a comment on a tweet that Doug Naylor put out some time ago about the sad passing of lighting director John Pomfrey, who's passed away. He was on Red Dwarf from Red Dwarf 1 through to 6 and didn't return after 7, which is sad to think, you know, that he was there for the entirety of the first 6 series, really, and just how good that was. And he seems to be such a well-loved character. He actually appeared on set on Red Dwarf 12 as well. So just wanting to put our thoughts out there, really, don't we, really, for someone who obviously has worked so much for the show.
He's the man who decided rather than have bread bins on the wall, have bread bins with holes in and light shining through. So he's very important to the style of Red Dwarf and how it changed. But yeah, he's one of the unsung heroes, I think, alongside Peter Ragg. This is a show that didn't have a great deal of money, and he did what he could, and what he ended up doing was very, very good.
And I think we've really engaged with these people more having read the magazines. And yeah, it is really, really sad. And these are the things you don't really notice when you're kind of enjoying the plot or watching it rather than analysing it. But I think it is very sad, and it's definitely worth mentioning and stuff.
Our thoughts go out to everyone who knew him, friends and family, and the like. So yeah, it's really sad. But we did have some other news. As I say, last night the BFI were having an event yesterday, which was a couple of things really. It was a showing of Red Dwarf backwards, and it was an episode of it. What was it called again? Time Slides or something? Time Switches or
Time Wasters, wasn't it?
Time Wasters, yes. Has anyone actually seen Time Wasters?
What if Goodnight Sweetheart was a jazz quartet? That is not a what if I want to be watching.
I don't know.
Goodnight Sweetheart was cack, and I don't like jazz. It ain't for me.
Just from that one sentence, Mark, you piqued my interest in it.
Yeah, but your interest is piqued by the most peculiar of things.
It is true. I am quite peculiar.
Well, you know, I think it's worth a special on it, personally.
Yeah, you can read on that one. I've learnt my lesson after this magazines. Maybe specials aren't the best fucking thing. All I wanted to do was watch a fucking monster film, all right?
We got that on tape, didn't we? We got that recorded, Mark saying specials, maybe a thing he doesn't want to pursue.
No, yeah. That's not what I said. Some specials are poor choices. I still stick by Gap of the Triphibian Monster. Best special ever. If you haven't listened to it, you should listen to it. Rob Yeomans is coming back next year as well.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, well, let's move on from the actual Red Dwarf to the actual Red Dwarf stuff. There was they were kind of like live reacting to it, and apparently there wasn't any sound from the sounds of it. It was kind of just them generally talking about bits and bobs. We don't have much information other than what we've seen on Ganymede and Titan, But speaking
But that's
of
because there isn't very much information. We've literally got a couple of paragraphs and you want to record an episode on it.
Carl, could you see where I was going there? Could you see where I was going there?
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
Yeah. And what does he go and do? Interrupt the fucking bastard,
Yeah.
right?
I'm sorry.
I said,
I'm not.
I was going, we've got the information on Ganymede and Titan. And speaking of Titan...
Oh, that was a nice link. I fucked it, didn't I?
Stamped all over it with your size 12s.
10? I'm not a fucking monster. Sorry to anyone with big feet.
No, I've got big feet.
I've got big feet.
My mate Tosson's got massive big feet.
There was a sizzle reel, and the sizzle reel said that at a very early stage of development that there might be this thing called Red Dwarf Titan, in which it might feature a young Rimmer and a young Lister.
What's the sizzle reel?
It depends on what you look. So if you go to the cinema and you see like a numerous different like trailers for different films, and it's like coming this winter, that's a sizzle reel. So it's not necessarily advertising one thing. It's kind of going, Red Dwarf Titan and Red Dwarf the New Age, and then there might be like I don't know,
Red
Twilight.
Dwarf USA.
Planet of the Cat People.
Planet of the Cat People, there's like the new Wonka film, blah, blah, blah. And it's just all put together as like a one package thing to say these things are available. It's that kind of feel to it.
Crichton's cooking YouTube channel.
All of these sound good.
So that was that. But it to me felt like, in the way they were saying it, it seems like it was more, or what Ganymede are saying is basically it might be a way to drum up some like kind of ideas. So basically to get investors involved is the way I'm reading it.
Yeah.
To say that they've announced it kind of thing. So it must be in some sort of production thing, whatever it may well be, but it's kind of in a production stage, and there might be shopping out for people to see if anyone's interested in investing.
I don't think we're going to see this for a while, if at all.
It depends what it is. I said this to you guys yesterday. I think it's going to be audio based. Just going off what Rob Grant and Andrew Marshall have been doing over the last few years, which is the it's not called Quatermass, but it's like Quaxahorn or something that we've Quandahorn.
Yeah,
the two series of sci-fi comedy that they've just done, which we have got, and it's on the list that we could do down the line. And also they've just done one called The Nether Regions, which was like a horror sketch show as well. So that seems to be where they're aiming what they're doing. And this could be, if not Big Finish, like we've been talking about, the closest we'll get to Big Finish, which I do think it's because there's more chance, if it's audio based, of the original cast being in it.
They would have announced it was going to be Big Finish if they were going to announce it. And it blows my mind that if they're going to do audio stuff, that they haven't gone, hi, Big Finish, look at our British thing that people think is really culty and cool, and then look, we have actors that I want it to be audio. I think you make sense, but I would have thought they'd have announced we're working with Big Finish if they were going to be doing audio, because who the fuck else is going to do it?
Well, this is the thing. This could be, like Kurt said, the ploy to actually go, look, we want to do this. This could be them very discreetly saying, hey, Big Finish, look at us.
Yeah, and just to see what the reaction is to people like us that will go, oh, Red Dwarf Titan, what's that? That's what I feel it is. I think we're in that stage. That's why I actually wanted to talk about it for those those couple of reasons, really. One, the Quandahorn and Nether Region stuff, because I know, Carl, that you've had a bit more knowledge on that than I do. Because it's Rob Grant and Andrew Marshall rather than a Doug Naylor thing. That's moving on from what we've discussed in the past about the the fact that they've displayed and they've made these decisions, and we will get new Red Dwarf content. It's a step on from that. This feels to me this next step is worth considering doing this. This is kind of our elevator pitch in some way, to say we want to do Red Dwarf Titan and then see what players come out of it. That's why I feel the way that they're actually approaching it. It's
not just sort of like Rob Grant doing a cheap knockoff. Andrew Marshall's very established. I mean, I think one of the biggest things he did was he was the creator of 2.4 Children. So he's written a lot of stuff, and a lot of well-known stuff as well, which is all failing me at the moment because we're recording this fairly early. But
fairly early.
Oh, shush! You complain when it's too late.
Midday. I don't complain when it's too late.
We all complain when it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. You're going, why don't you to talk to us?
I'm quite happy with it being late. This isn't early.
It's got a pedigree from a writing, and with Gwenda Horn, or I keep forgetting the name, Gwenda Horn and the Nether Regions, it's showing that they've got that established, that they can do it. And if they can do it, then why not do Red Dwarf? Especially seeing as we've got the cast. I'm sure Robert Llewellyn, after The Promised Land, is more than happy to just do it as an audio thing. I'm sure Craig Charles is so he doesn't have to have extensions in every time. And like we say, if it depends if the contract with Dave's running out, this could be the way forward. I mean, it could still get produced by Baby Cow, as well as working with Big Finish.
Yeah, I still think that Doug's got personally, I think Doug's got the TV concept, and he's got the IP for that, and I think Rob Grant is going to do this more, audio book kind of stuff.
Aren't the licenses different for audio? Because Big Finish are still going with loads and loads of Doctor Who stuff, despite the fact Disney has got the Whoniverse, as it's now being called. So I don't think we need to worry about that.
No, I don't think this would work in a TV format. I don't think people would accept it.
Yeah.
I think there'd definitely be resistance. And also, it does feel like...
Shall we say what the actual concept or the idea that we think it is? Yeah. Because before we delve into that, because...
Prequel, in it?
It's named after one of Saturn's moons, Titan. So, and they're saying it's a prequel. So, one, what are your thoughts on prequels in general? And, you talk about like sort of Big Finish, for example. There's a multitude of different ways you can go about it. You can go in universe. You could go between seasons 3 and 4. You could go, after what happened after 8. You could even, I think we've even discussed it at one point, talking about Hollister. Is there a Captain Hollister out there? But, after series 8, could you do something with that? But this seems to be in prequel land. So what are your thoughts generally on that as a concept and prequels in general?
I hope it isn't young Rimmer and young Lister.
That's what they're saying.
As in, like, teenage Rimmer and Lister, or before they've met Rimmer and Lister, because I don't think that'd work. I mean, it's been explored in the books that they do technically meet before they knew each other. In the article, it says this would be a prequel to Red. I mean, bear in mind he's going to meet a Titan, so I don't know what it was the person that went there. So, it says this would be a prequel to Red Dwarf, apparently featuring young Rimmer and young Lister, named for Saturn's moon of Titan. It felt like, so it's their opinion. It felt like it would occupy a similar space to the first section of Infinity Welcomes Careful Drivers. If it was a mini series telling the story of how they both got to Red Dwarf, that would be interesting, because that would give you the fan base going, I know what this is. It's not going to run for like 7 seasons and completely bugger up the continuity. So if it was like I don't know, just one series, a 6-parter of half-an-hour episodes where they show how Lister, maybe revealing how Lister wound up on a park bench with the thing in the name of Emily Birkenstein. If they did that, that'd be quite interesting to see, because it's not been revealed at all over the course of the continuity how he got there. So it could start with him in Liverpool and end with him just about to board Red Dwarf, and then you could have that intercut with Rimmer's being on Red Dwarf and his initial attempts to get up the Ziggural lickety split. Yeah. So you could have that. You could have that where they just don't meet, or you could have it where they meet sparingly, like they do in the book.
Well, they only meet once in the book pre Red Dwarf, right? Because isn't it that he's a taxi driver to a robot prostitute?
Yes, he's a taxi driver to a brothel.
You see, that is something I think Rob Grant would still keep.
Yeah,
it's that sort of thing that I think he would actually use personally. I think that's his style, isn't it?
End of episode 1, he wakes up on Titan. Episode 2, it's a bit of time later and he's a taxi driver, and that's where we first meet Rimmer, and then from 3 we see both of their lives going on just on separate occasions. Mark will hate it because there'll be no Cat.
No.
I think if they did do another sort of spin-off, Cat City would be interesting in the holds of Red Dwarf. To be honest, if you did Cat City, that would feel more like an anime to me. But I know that's probably something they won't do.
Yeah.
You could have Crichton on the Nova 5, and have, if you're looking to spin off and do stuff with that doesn't mess with the mainline continuity, the Nova 5 is perfect.
Yeah. Well, one of the questions I was going to ask is like, in this particular world, that, the kind of the prequel thing for me is a bit like, there's a bit of, when they have to retcon stuff a little bit, or they have to do a little bit, and it's like, I'm not a massive person that like this is on continuity as much, but at the same time, I'm like, can we not have something either new or just beyond, or especially for Star Trek, for example. But having said that, I was thinking when I saw this last night about Titan, and probably the Nova 5 is probably more akin to this, is like something like a comedy version of Sam Rockwell's Moon. That kind of thing, where it's just like it's interspersed in what single story of the Nova 5 with Crichton on it, or whatever what that may well be. That those type of things would probably interest me more, because it's something where you're aware of that something's happened, but you find out what actually happened on that space and in that space and time.
I mean, what it could be is something similar to what we've just seen with Doctor Who, which is the Tales of the TARDIS, where it's a sort of a separate story, each one for a previous Doctor. It could just be a series of, like an anthology series, where it's 6 episodes covering everybody before it builds to a point. So Lister waking up on the bench, Rimmer trying to, when he first starts on Red Dwarf, Cat growing up in Kitty School, Crichton on the Nova 5, and then, I don't know, an episode like the Moon one, but it's Holly on the ship on his own.
Yeah.
All he's got is the scutters and maybe a snack machine.
Yeah, because those are the things you could do, like a day in the life of Holly, couldn't you? And just random.
Oh, they could
like
bring
that.
back the toaster.
Yeah.
There are some great prequel ideas to be told, some stories that I'd like to see, but my concern is, if they want Lister and Rimmer in it, are they going to just kind of retcon the fact that they basically met on Red Dwarf? And the TV continuity, there's no mention of the robot prostitute. I might kind of, it doesn't explicitly say they didn't know each other before Red Dwarf either, though, I suppose.
I think you've got to think that Rob Grant probably does, as much as like we talk about this, I wouldn't be surprised if Rob Grant has not watched anything since season 6. It wouldn't surprise me if he's not watched any of it, if I'm being honest. So I don't think we need to be putting out into our heads what we've seen on television compared to thing. We need to really think about what's in the books and what Rob Grant's done, because I think that's where his thing. I mean, we did Into the Gloop, didn't we? That's a perfect example of where Rob Grant is, and it's that, for me, that's where this like split is going to be. It's going to be Doug doing his own thing with Red Dwarf 13, 14, or one-off specials, animations, whatever. I'm just speculating, and then Rob Grant's going to go off on his little, let's do some audio dramas, let's do some, like sort of new book, let's do a comic book maybe. I just feel it's going to be split that way. It's just going to, and they're not going to really intertwine at all. That's the way I'm feeling about it.
I mean, the books have been doing that for years anyway, haven't they?
Yeah.
I was about to say that within Red Dwarf, there really isn't a strict continuity. And we've always kind of said that's okay because it's a comedy show. So maybe I'm just being a bit of a wanker, saying I don't really want them to have met before. But it also feels like a quintessential part of the stories. These two people got put together and hated each other, and that set all the balls rolling for what happened later on. But did it actually?
How long were they on Red Dwarf then? Does any idea when they were, what age they were, and how long were they on Red Dwarf before the?
In the book,
accident?
I think Rimmer was about 30, and Rimmer was about 25, something like that. They were quite young.
Okay. Because it depends on what they're saying is young, isn't it? Because we're surmising that it's off Red Dwarf. It might not even be off Red Dwarf. It might be on Red Dwarf, and when they're 25, 30.
But if that's the case, and if they do wind up doing it as a TV medium, which I don't think they will, what do you do then? Because it's quite hard to cover up the fact that Craig Charles and Chris Barry are. I don't think the budget stretches to the Indiana Jones de-aging.
Oh no, I don't think it would be that. I honestly, I don't. I just think there's a clear wall. Personally, I just can't see Rob Grant doing a TV show. I just can't see it. Can't see it. I'll be very surprised and happy if I'm wrong, but I just can't. I just think Doug's got that in that corner. I just don't see Rob Grant doing it at all.
Yeah, well, it's almost becoming a bit Marvel-y, isn't it? In the sort of, you've got the comics continuity and then you've got the movies continuity. And I think, like we're saying here, what we might end up with here is you've got the Rob continuity and the Doug continuity.
Yeah.
Which was
isn't everything like that, though? You can say that the universe is becoming like that.
Yeah. I mean, with the books, the last two books essentially weren't they? They barely followed on from each other.
They didn't. They were two alternative realities.
Yeah, exactly. And Backwards was a prequel of sorts. So Rob's got it in his head he can do it because he has done it. And I think it'll be very interesting to see what he comes out with. I think he's going to have to reveal more information in order to get it picked up. But this initial feeler, I think it's a good initial feeler, but he's going to have to. They're both Andrew Marshall as well. They're both going to have to go. This is actually a bit more of what the plan is. Yeah, because they must have one, because you can't just go Red Dwarf Titan and look out and just sort of see what's there and then make up what it's going to be. I mean, for all we know, it's a video game.
Yeah,
it's or a comic book.
Yeah, or a book. Yeah.
Or an animated series.
It'd be interesting to see the animated series.
You'd think that they've maybe already put out feelers, spec scripts or whatever they're putting out, or elevator pitches to the right people to see what the reaction is. And this is kind of like in the background of that, Rob and Doug have made that announcement, and they kind of wanted to say that things are moving just to keep that ball rolling, just to tick us over a little bit. Yeah. And for us, it's a tease. It's not anything other than that. It's just a case of, by the way, we are still doing something. Yeah. It's kind of that for me, I think. It'll
be interesting to see what Doug says in the coming days, because I don't think he's going to stay. If he stays silent, that's quite telling. But I don't feel Doug Naylor's one of those people who will stay silent on issues like this. So I think he's going to say something. And it's going to be interesting to see what that is.
It's funny, isn't it? Because obviously we had those announcements, but it was back in March, wasn't it, when they made that announcement. Then you get the iPlayer stuff that was in just before the summer. Was that like August, or was that in July, August?
Yeah.
And then you
wanted to do a special on that as well, and I was like, it's literally just an announcement with nothing to respond to.
I don't think I did.
Sure, someone did.
No, I don't think I did on that one. I wasn't bothered about that. No.
You got specials on the brain, Mark.
Oh yeah.
He's gone anti. I'm just like I said on Facebook last night. I was like, "Who are you? What have you done with Mark?"
Find me another monster film, and I'm in.
He's lived long enough to become the villain of his own story.
Oh dear.
I do quite fancy doing Quandahorn, though.
Yeah,
that'd be something interesting.
Yeah, there's 2 series of it. We've got it.
I think we should bump that up the list personally, because because we've got a writing partnership here of those two and Red Dwarf in the same title. That was another reason why I wanted to bring it on, was to maybe to look at Quandahorn anyway, because those two people have now been linked to our Red Dwarf project, which isn't in production, but it's within the realms of possibility. So I honestly think we should bring that forward.
Okay. So do you think we should prioritise Quandahorn over Go-Getters?
Yes.
Yes.
What about the Crouches?
I didn't realise we had the Crouches.
Yes.
Funky Bunker?
Yes.
Yes.
I love it. God, there's a lot of tat on this list.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not stopping anytime soon, are we?
No.
Yeah, well, I might be retiring when he does all his when all's left is specials. I'm like, I'll see you in 5 years when we get the Red Dwarf Titan, which is a 700-page book.
Oh, I don't want it to be a book. Who reads books these days?
I can't see it being a book.
No.
To be fair.
I can see there being another book.
Yeah.
But I can't see this being a book.
I can see there being 2 books, actually.
Mm.
One by each of them.
Great. Well, okay. Well, thanks for the appeasement, Mark. It's been much appreciated, and your enthusiasm has been so
Look, all I want
so delightful.
is an announcement for fucking Big Finish. That's all I want.
I know. That's why you're whelmed. That's why you unless it's
Exactly.
Big Finish, you're not going to be bothered about any of this, are you? They might give you like a full like summary of the entire thing, and you're like, "Is it Big Finish?" No. Oh, I'm not bothered then. Whatevs. Right, okay. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you guys. We've had the Red Dwarf titles released recently. People go and listen to Mark trying to guess what's coming up in Red Dwarf 10, 11 and 12.
I listened back to that. I didn't do very well on Series 10. I'm pretty sure I haven't done very well on 11 or 12 either. So please feel free to do massive lols at my failure.
Excellent. Okay, so this was just a very short one. Carl, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Linktree / I am Mr. Carl. If you don't use Linktree, by the way, do set one up. It's really quick and easy to do, isn't it, Mark?
Fuck off. Find me at Mark Adams HC on Twitter and Instagram. You know I've got another podcast. I'll talk about that next time.
Okay, you can find me on Linktree / Armoldrake.
Are you both suggesting that I should get a Linktree?
I think we might be suggesting that, yes.
Possibly.
He's not enthusiastic
We should
today,
try
is
the
he?
reverse psychology thing. Don't get a Linktree, Mark.
I'm going to get a Linktree.
Linktrees are crap.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, thanks, guys, for jumping on. I appreciate, Mark, you coming on despite your unwillingness to talk to me. It's fine, you know.
I just didn't think we
quite
had
like
much to
talking
say.
to you, but you just don't want to talk to me, do you?
I didn't think we had much to say, but turns out we did because we're all full of shit. Smeg.
Excellent. On that note,
Whelmed.
Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast, was created and produced by Mark Adams and Kurt North. You can find us on Twitter at Red Dwarf Pod, and we are part of the We Made This Podcast network.
Are you a fan of the Marvel Universe?
Can you tell your Kang from your Doctor Doom?
Well, if so, boy, do we have a podcast for you.
Podcast 616 is the We Made This Network's long-running Marvel podcast, and it's under new management.
We're your hosts, Ashley Thomas
And Hugh McStay.
and together we are going to lead you every step of the way through the Marvel Cinematic Universe's upcoming multiverse saga.
Everything from She-Hulk to Avengers Secret Wars will be covered on the podcast in the kind of detail that would make a Wikipedia article blush.
We're going to have some detours into the wider Marvel world where we'll look at non-MCU projects dating all the way back to Marvel's origins in the groovy, funky 60s, and all the way up to the birth of the greatest franchise in cinema history.
And we'll be joined on our adventure by a roll call of guests so impressively knowledgeable that they'll make the Avengers themselves look clueless by comparison.
So if you like your opinions sharper than Wolverine's claws,
Or takes hotter than the Human Torch's underpants.
then get Podcast 616 in your ears as a matter of urgency.
You'll love it 3000. Podcast 616. Disassemble.